So one thing that I've kind of noticed is to deal with failure, you have to take accountability. So I've seen so many people in kind of my life, and particularly now during the coronavirus, where they've failed or they've had to deal with adversity and they've not taken accountability for themselves. They've tried to offload the blame onto other people. Say, for example, when you do get your results back from your exam, the easy thing to do would be to blame the teacher who marked it. Or if you failed your driving test, the easy thing to do would blame the examiner. Maybe he was having a bad day or whatever. But the reality is that you failed and it is your fault, and you need to take the steps to ensure that you don't fail again. And the only way you can do that is by looking at yourself, not anyone else. It's like the coronavirus now. You've kind of got people blaming the government and whatever, and they may be accountable.
That one person that ate that one bag, like, oh, you.
But that's not, that doesn't affect you. You're the only person that can change it for yourself. And I think that kind of, once you accept that and you realize that you have to make changes to kind of steer off the path of failure, that's when you are properly dealing with adversity. And kind of in my short time of having to deal with failure, having the mindset of I have failed and I can accept it and this is how I'm going to move on from it. That's how I've dealt with failure in the past.
I think that's a really good point, because it also, what it does is once you blame the failures on others, you can't learn because it's not your failure, right? So essentially, they should learn from whatever they've done and you're okay. And, I think you told me the other day, was it a quote from Far Cry or something?
Oh yeah, it's really like this video game, and it's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result.
And if you blame somebody, that's exactly what will happen, isn't it? And I think that would be my final point to the advice, because I think failure as a word has a really negative effect, right? It's a word that people want to kind of run away from a bit, right? And especially when you're starting a business and we see the stats, like the failure rate or whatever it may be, right? Failure is okay, absolutely okay. And the reason why is, and I'll tell you this is a bit weird, but I'll tell you how I see failure, right? I see failure as a figure, right? And it's a teacher. It's literally like failure represents a teacher, right? So whenever something bad happens, right, I learn rather than fail, right? And that's I think a very, very important thing to understand, because when I was growing up, if you fail at something, it really brings you down. Like, how am I going to look in front of my parents, in front of my friends? What am I going to think about? Am I not good enough? Right? When I fail now, because of that teacher, I get excited because I know that I just got better. I just learned something new. So now I go into any decision I make, it's becoming so much easier because there's only two options. You either succeed or you learn. Both are very positive. Right? And when you came into Orfi Active a year ago, right? And you told me, oh, this doesn't really feel like a startup. It's so nicely established. You got all these systems in place, and everything is kind of nice and whatever, right? That's only because of that teacher. That teacher made all of those things happen. If you would have joined when we did Hoops Connect, it would have been a completely different story, right? And I think, once you change your mentality to that, it's just going to be so much easier and to both make decisions and deal with failure.
And final thing for me, I think the reality is that 99% of people on the planet will fail. I've just heard your stories of failing. I know people like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, they've all failed. All of their products have failed at some point. And the focus point hasn't been that failure. It's been what they've done after that failure and how they've reacted to it. And that's how they've been defined in their life. Not as someone who tried one thing and it failed. Someone who tried one thing, it failed, they learned from it, and then brought out Facebook or the MacBook or the iPhone or Tesla. And I think when I do have a failure, or I mean, it will
will do, it's unavoidable, right?
but it's gonna be, how do I learn from that, and how do I react, and how do I shape my future going off of that failure?
Just get excited about it.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like literally get excited about it,
Yeah.
and use that energy to make your decisions.
Yeah.